Hey everybody out there. Did you ever wonder where the quadratic formula comes from? Well, in this video, I'm going to show you. And we're going to use some completing the square skills as well as zero numbers. Actually, there will be a couple numbers in there, but very minimal numbers in order to show you where the formula comes from. So without further ado, before I get distracted, let's get into it. Hey, so it all comes from this, ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. We are going to use completing the square. We're going to find some common denominators, and we're going to derive x equals negative b plus or minus square root, all that good stuff over 2a. So let's get started. Okay, so first thing we want to do is we're going to use completing the square. So I'm going to separate some terms. I'm going to separate ax squared plus bx. I'm going to separate that from c. Okay, and I'm going to factor an a out. If I factor an a out, I'm going to get x squared and then plus b over ax. And completing the square, I'm going to add something else in there. Okay, now if I add something else in there, and it's really not just this blank, right? It's also going to be a times that blank. We're going to set that equal to 0. So let's get that right here. If I factor out an a, I'm not technically adding this thing in. I'm adding a times that thing in. Therefore, I've also got to subtract a times that thing. So let's figure out what that thing is. Right? Completing the square, we take half of this term and we square it. So half of that term is b over 2a. Now I'm going to square that. That should be b squared over 4a squared. So this will be b squared over 4a squared. Okay, let's clean this thing up a little bit. This is going to be a. This term right here, this trinomial here, is actually going to be compacted into x plus b over 2a squared. And we're going to add c, and we're going to subtract. And when I distribute this a in, it's going to reduce with one of the a's in the denominator. So I'm going to get b squared over 4a equal to 0. Okay, so now we got a little bit of algebra to do. Nothing too hard. All I'm going to do is I'm going to get a common denominator over here by multiplying top and bottom by 4a. So I get ax plus b over 2a squared plus, ooh, this is cool, 4ac minus b squared over 4a. Now, ooh, that looks eerily familiar to what we see in the quadratic formula. I'm seeing the discriminant on the top. So let's add this term, subtract that term over. So I'm going to get a x plus b over 2a, quantity squared. And then when I subtract that over, all that happens is the signs of these two terms, they switch. So now b squared would be positive and 4ac would be negative, all over 4a. This is awesome. Get ready. Okay, it's starting to come together. Do you notice the axis of symmetry here? B over 2a. Well, it's going to be negative b over 2a in just a minute. Okay, so I'm going to divide by a. If I divide by a, this is going to become 4a squared in the denominator. Now I'm going to take the square root. Okay, I'm doing a little bit of algebra all in one step. So I have x plus b over 2a. I'm taking the square root, so it'll be plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac and the square root of 4a squared. Square root of 4a squared. Could write it like that, or I could write it as 2a. Sweet, we're almost there. We got one more step. We're going to subtract b over 2a, and there you have it, folks. That's where the quadratic formula comes from. This is some pure math, and it's awesome. If that's pleasing to you, I'm going to continue a series of, this is called a derivation. It can also be called a proof, but some pure math here coming up with where formulas come from. So if you like that kind of thing, please comment, let me know. I'll do more on other topics. But there you have it, quadratic formula, our friend, helpful in any and all cases if necessary. Have a great day, guys. We'll see you in the next video.